If you want to save time and still get accurate results, then partner with 4 Pillars Research, proud sponsors of PI Perspectives. We specialize in uncovering insurance policies that can make or break your case. From identifying unknown policies to uncovering accurate policy information, we streamline the process so you can focus on your case. Partner with 4 Pillars Research and unlock the full potential of your investigations. Visit researchfpr.com to learn more.
This only happens once in a lifetime. The World Association of Detectives is proud to announce its 100th year celebration conference in Chicago from September 2nd through the 6th. This event is close to being sold out, and you don't want to miss it. Join investigators from over 85 countries and build your network. In 1925, W.A.D. had its first conference at the Drake Hotel in Chicago. 100 years later, they are back. The schedule is packed, including pre-con trainings from Amber Schroeder and Jimmy Nessis. Visit WAD100conf.net to learn more or register. We'll put it in the links as well.
Do you enjoy our podcast and the guests we bring you? Since 2019, Matt and his team have done their very best to give you amazing shows each week. If you feel like our show has helped you to be a better investigator, or maybe even inspired you to become an investigator, please let us know. We're looking for testimonials. Drop Matt an email with a recorded 20 to 30 seconds of you talking about this podcast. You can also email him something verbal about the website. His email is matthews@satellitepi.com. And if you really feel blessed for having this content, consider supporting Matt and our show by joining Investigators Toolbox. You really have to see version 2.0. And at just 49 cents a day, it's a no-brainer. Private investigators, are you spending hours digging through online data? There's a better way. Scope Now is your all-in-one OSINT platform, automating the collection and analysis of publicly available information, so you get results faster. Workbench helps you uncover key details on individuals and businesses. Link analysis connects the dots between entities, and pre-check flags potential risks in seconds. Plus, with Grid, you'll get real-time intelligence alerts, keeping you ahead of emerging threats. Stop the manual searching. Let Scope Now do the heavy lifting. Learn more at scopenow.com.
Welcome to the next episode of PI Perspectives. Wes Bearden is back. Wes just had a landmark case in Mexico that received a $31 million jury award. He used his international and national network through W.A.D. to work on the case. Wes talks about the case and the 100-year Centennial Conference in Chicago this September. Please welcome Wes Bearden and your host, New York private investigator Matt Spaier.
And welcome everyone to this next episode of PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today I asked a tried and true friend of the show to come back on again. And the reason I asked him to come on again, because he's not only an investigator, he's actually an attorney as well. And he had a massive case that he's been working on for a bit that he had a positive result from, and he used a bunch of people in the industry to help him along. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Wes Bearden back to the show. Wes, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Matt. It's good to be back and talking to you again.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. So I obviously run into you at pretty much every event. We're cross-pollinating and seeing you. And so I've seen the genesis of this big, huge case that you were working on. I think last time I saw you, you were getting ready to go to trial on it. I think we were in the UK, right, at ABI, and I think you were just starting to dig in to that. So congrats on that huge victory. Folks may have read about it, but not everybody have seen it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that case and what happened?
Yeah, it's a tragic case, and I'll tell you about the facts of the case, and then kind of how we used investigators to really be effective here. But I represent a widow named Jamie Snow, and it's Jamie and Elijah Snow. And they are out of the Arlington, Texas, which is Arlington's between Dallas and Fort Worth. He was a firefighter. She's a special ed coordinator for a school district. And they had decided to take an anniversary trip to Cancun, Mexico. And so they went to, this would have been right after COVID. to a really pretty high-end hotel right on Cancun Beach. It was coming out of COVID. And so they went down there, used a travel agent here in Texas. It was through a pretty big conglomerate that owns 45, 50 hotels throughout the Caribbean and Mexico. And I got down there the first night. I'm from Dallas, and it's real common. It's quicker to go for years from the '70s on to go to Cancun than it is to go to Florida because they always had junkets out of DFW Airport. It was just common. And so they go down there early in the morning. I think they get up, 3 or 4 in the morning, get the first flight. They're there. It's an all inclusive. They're overserved, a lot of drinks. And at one point in time, she says, "Hey, I'm tired. About 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I'm going to bed. Come on up." And the last video that we had of him in the hotel was going to a third floor bar, but there's never been a video that has shown him leaving the hotel. The next morning, she wakes up in the middle of the night, can't find her husband, calls the clerk, asks the clerk, please call the police. They don't do that. And sometime the next morning, a gardener finds him hanging out of a small building out of the window dead. And so we brought a claim against the hotel, the management company of the hotel, and just had that trial. And we brought this claim 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So that's the base story of what took place, and it's been all over the news. It's been a newspaper. Dr. Phil did a long story about it, and I'm People magazine. I know it's been all over the place, and they're kind of regurgitating that story now that the verdict's taken place. And we got
Yeah,
to
it's a sad story, man. Like you go on vacation, you don't expect to die.
No, and what happened after was just tragic. I mean, she had to go. I was telling somebody today she had to go to the police department to identify her husband. And she's given a statement, and the first thing they do is they say, "Is this your husband? Show him a driver's license." She says yes. The officer opens the door, lets all his friends who are funeral home directors come in to lay a business card down to sell her. She has to come back to actually identify the body on a camera screen, and she says, "Yeah, that's him." And she says, "Can I take a photograph of his face?" And she says, "Oh yeah, for $100." And so she got 6 photographs. A few photographs, wound up paying $500, $600 just to take a picture of her deceased husband. I mean, it was the corruption's pretty bad down in
Yeah,
Mexico, and
that's how
it
you
was
think.
yeah.
It's crazy.
But we went to trial, and jury came back last month, and we got a $31.5 million verdict. So that's a great result for her, and it looks like, based on what people are saying, hopefully it sticks up, and I think it will. I mean, we really ran a pretty clean trial, so I think it'll work out pretty good, hopefully.
Yeah, and you have the aspect of being out of the country, right? The whole Mexico thing. And
Mhm.
you've been on here before. You're current president of W.A.D. And we've always been singing the songs of how W.A.D works, why it's so important to be part of the World Association of Detectives, and to have that network to be able to do that overseas work when it comes in, the out of country work, and I think that played a big part in you assembling your investigative team, because it was more than just the Beard Investigation Agency, right? Which is your investigative arm. Of folks who don't know, like I mentioned before, Wes is an attorney and an investigator. But it was so much more than just your internal team, and you tapped into people that you knew in the industry, based upon W.A.D relationships, right?
Yeah. This case. So what you might to give you a little bit of a setup of that. My investigative agency was founded by my family. We're probably now 60 something years into doing it, 65 something. And it's a full service group. And we're based in Dallas, but we got to work all over the place. And my law firm's just a small group of guys. And so what we do, and what I think my shtick is that I look for cases that I think are really important. I like my client, and I know we can beat you investigatively. And so, a lot of law firms, and I think Matt, you would know this, and all of our friends would know this. You kind of get hired when there's a problem, not before. And I hate
Right.
to say that, and if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're dealing with one right now, right? They've come to an issue, and they've been litigating for 2 years, and now, okay, we need an investigator. Well, what we do is I try to reverse it. So we do all the stuff beforehand, and I use WAD members. I mean, WAD was great because the guy on the ground in Mexico, and it wasn't just liability in terms of what actually happened that night, but Our medical people were out of Colorado. We had one defendant was Mexican corporation, the other one was a Barbados, and the other one was Canadian. And so we used people in all those areas to really dig into these facts, and we did it, before we filed the lawsuit. And so that's why I think we were so successful at it. And if I didn't have WAD, I wouldn't have had a lot of the contacts that I had to be able to pull this off, frankly. I mean, your WAD has some pretty experienced members, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's just the network, right? You just being able to have the people that you can depend on the relationships that you've built, and you build them over the years by going to the events and meeting people, having a drink or a meal with them, and just understanding who they are and what they're about. And we have this massive event coming up in Chicago, the 100-year anniversary, which I can't wait for, man. It's
it's always a blast.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. What's going on with that?
Well, if you've never been to a WAD event, and I know sometimes in the States here, it's a little bit odd. If you go to a state associations are great. They're telling you what's going on in your state. There's a lot of education. But in WAD, we have some education. We're not, but everybody's coming from all corners of the world. And the thing that we're really doing at these conferences is creating social events. And that's not just because we like to get together and have drinks and everything like that. We do, but it's so that you meet somebody. And if you have work now in China or in Korea or in Europe or wherever, you sat down with this guy, you've had a cup of coffee, you know who he is, you've had a discussion, and you've got somebody now you can really trust. You're not just looking up, somebody on the internet that you don't know whether this is going to work out or not. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is create those type of relationships. And WAD is the best at that because I think because we're the most diverse at that. If you look at our 35-member board, they're not Americans and British anymore. The majority of them are Europeans or Southeast Asia. And, so when you come to a conference, you're not, a lot of places, I'm a member of the International Association of Lawyers, or, some of these other groups that, God bless them. But, it's like 90% American, 10% British, and there's a guy from like Switzerland. But this is WAD's got 85 different countries, and they're mostly represented at these deals. So
yeah. It's nice to see the numbers. It's got to be over 1,000 members. I know it was getting close.
Yeah, there might be a special announcement on that coming soon.
I don't know anything about that.
we are very, 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 very close at 1,000 members. So everything changes day by day, but there's been a lot of interest in WAD in this last year. And I think we're going to get there. So we're happy about that.
Yeah, that Chicago event's gonna be special. I mean, it's definitely, I can say right now, it's gonna be sold out. I mean, it's standing room only. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, there may be a few left. Don't delay. Go and get it. I know the hotel's pretty much filled up from what I understand.
Yeah, right now, look, this event, we do a normal, pretty social agenda on a regular conference, but this event we're doing twice as much. So there's twice as many parties, twice as many. NCISS, if you remember that, they're doing a meeting there. CII, which is another international group, is having theirs, a hotel down the street. So there's a lot going on. If you have an interest, you need to book now. This hotel, the Drake Hotel, is a very old hotel. It's a very cool hotel. Everybody from Al Capone to Winston Churchill, everybody stayed there. But we are filling up, and it's just a matter of even getting you in the front door. So if you're interested, you need to book now. We're down to the very, very wire. We hate to turn anybody away, but that may happen. So if you're interested, look us up, wad.net, and we can get in now.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, I want to talk more about that synergy with being able to work internationally and why that's so important. Even if you're just a local guy, because you just never know when something's going to come across your plate. So everybody sit tight, and we will be right back.
Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes.
Managing a team of investigators just got easier with TrackOps, the all-in-one case management software. Are you ready to enhance case flows and drive efficiency? TrackOps offers powerful management and coordination tools to streamline workflows and communication, all designed to keep your team synchronized and focused on the task at hand. With TrackOps, you can easily distribute workloads, track individual performance, and ensure deadlines are met. Plus, the TrackOps mobile app allows investigators to access case activities on the go. And the TrackOps video app allows for simple and consistent timestamping, all included at no extra cost. Start streamlining your investigation process today. Visit trackops.com for a free 15-day trial and experience the power of efficient team management. TrackOps, empowering teams, simplifying management. Satellite Investigations has launched its new website full of great new content. Matt and his team have released some great informative blogs. Make sure you log in to LinkedIn and follow Satellite Investigations for the latest content. Over the past year, our industry has been the target of foreign governments and agencies that have attempted to recruit unsuspecting investigators to gather intelligence or immediate expatriates. PI Perspectives is teaming up with the Federal Bureau of Investigations to get the word out about this ongoing crisis. If you've been contacted by an individual or company that might seem suspicious, please contact the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. You can also contact the New York field office at 212-384-1000 to report suspicious activity in any state. The link is also in the show notes. Even if you completed a job and it still doesn't sit right with you, you can report this activity. The only way to stop this trend is to work together. So let's do it.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. Matt Spaier, your host. Today we are here with Wes Bearden. He's a private investigator from Texas. He's an attorney, all-around good guy, president of W.A.D. We're talking about this just amazing case that he got a verdict on recently, and talking about the W.A.D's Centennial celebration coming up in Chicago the first week of September. So, Wes, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Yeah, it's September 2nd through 6th, if you're interested.
My brain farted for a second because I got NCISS coming before that, and I'm like, nah, I got to be there a couple days early.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad we were able to work that all out, which is cool. You're going to have like the two associations there at the same time.
Yeah, it's going to be neat. I just think there's going to be a lot of neat, similarly oriented people in the same place at the same time. And, if you haven't been to Chicago in a while, Drake's right off the kind of the Miracle Mile there, right off the beach. I mean, it's a Rush Street is all by there. I mean, it's a beautiful area. I mean, it really is. There's a lot of things to do, a lot of restaurants, shopping, bars. I mean, it's a lot of fun. We've been going back and forth now for several months, and it's it's neat. It's neat. I'm not gonna say Chicago's better than New York. Don't get me wrong, but
I hang up right now. I got bad connection. Sorry, we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Your pizza's better. I'm more of a New York pizza guy, but it's still a neat place.
Did not hear what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's going to be, I think we're going to be talking about that event for years. It's like, I remember back in the day, Jimmy Messis did the super conference, right? In Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before I really got into it, right? I was practicing, but I wasn't participating, right? I was still kind of trying to figure out who I am and what I'm doing. And the idea of like being away somewhere and putting money out when I wasn't really making that much money yet was, I can't do that. I'm going to have desert days or there'll be no billing, like that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And you get that. So if you're like just starting your business and you're like, I don't think I can afford to go or all that, just go, man, just go. The relationships you're going to make are going to grow your business tenfold. It's really important.
Yeah, if you and I look at every year, we look at our budget, who's sending what, who to what, and yeah, it's always expensive, and you're not going to see an immediate return. You never do. But by doing this type of stuff and getting and participating, I mean, you really get so much benefit from this. I mean, you'll make lifelong friends, and I don't mean just business wise. Yeah, a lot of business gets swapped But beyond that, a lot of, I mean, we build friendships across country lines, and there's a lot of people whose kids go to study overseas, and they stay at a W.A.D. member's house, or they get checked on. I mean, this is a very close knit. It's one of the largest groups,
Yeah.
but they're very close knit if you get to come around. And so I would really encourage you to try to do it if that's something you have an interest in. And I don't know. I mean, I think where we're going now, 25 years, maybe 30 years ago, international cases were, there were some, but they weren't near what they are today. I think there's just, it's more and more times a witness is moved, the party lives somewhere else. I mean, you've seen that too, Matt. I mean,
It's commerce, man. So
yeah,
internet commerce, right? The second that you made it easier for business to be done, country to country, you just open the door for the need for research and investigations and things to be done. The more accessible transportation is for people to go to Cancun or go to and these other locations. Stuff happens when you go away, right?
that's right.
Accidents happen, and now you got to figure out how to get that done. One of the first times I tapped into WAD as a new member was one of my clients had a client that had an accident in Rome, and they were just
Mhm.
blown away that I don't know, within less than a day I had the police report from that particular precinct in Rome where the accident happened, like in hand. And they're like, I don't
Yeah.
understand, how did you get that? I'm like, contacts, man. I get contacts all over the place. And that's the spirit of it. That's how it works. So it's like you don't know when you're going to need it, but you're going to need it at some point, you know.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that and the other thing too that I'm seeing now, and this is the lawyer in me, but if you're an investigator out there and you're listening, in the old days, you'd hear an old guy say, "Well, I need this out of oh, I need this out of pick a country, Austria." All right, yeah, but I don't really care what the laws are in Austria. It doesn't matter. Well, it's starting to matter now. I mean, we
Yeah.
have so many international acts, that GDPRs come back up multiple times now, and it's not just, I don't really care how they do it over there. I just want it done. And so part of the thing with WAD is at least you're finding a contact there that, look, they probably know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, they're going to call somebody that they know what they're doing in that country and get it figured out for you. So it's real professional help. And I think that's just needed more and more today. It's not like the old days where, I don't care what's legal or not legal in Timbuktu. I just want the information. Well, now you kind of need to know that now, because you can get in trouble. And anyways, it's been real successful.
Yeah, and and there is that accountability too. Like that message board is fierce, man. If you do something wrong, like you don't come correct to another member, they're going to hear about it. Like the other members are going to hear about it. We try to say don't air your grievances on the message board, but that doesn't translate in all languages. So sometimes you see things like, okay, all right, somebody did not do the right thing the way they were supposed to do it.
Well, that does. I mean, I think we're a close knit group, but you also have to remember that WAD, if they're a top investigator in their country, they're probably a member of WAD. And if they're a top investigator or any type of businessman that's a top in their business, they're going to be a kind of a type A personality. So they're going to tell you what they can do, what they can't do, and they're not going to shirk their words and everything like that. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, that works. And we're a very, very friendly group, and I think we do interact with each other very well. And particularly given the fact that not all of us speak the same first language, and most of us don't. And we still do business and get things done together, which is great.
Yeah. I mean, and you've had people holding high level positions, presidents, chairpersons, that English is not their first language, and they get it done. It's like it's pretty cool to see the whole thing. Yeah, I just know the one thing when I sit in on a board meeting because I'm not on the board there, but I've attended a couple board meetings. I'm exhausted when it's done. Like I don't know how you guys do it, man. It's like all day of just people from all over the world basically talking about our industry and issues that need to be addressed and trying to figure out the right way to navigate through all that. It's impressive, man. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and that's when I go talk about WAD at any place, I always say the best thing about WAD is the diversity. I mean, you just, like I said, there's a lot of organizations that I'm a member of, and I'm not necessarily investigative. I'm talking about mostly lawyer or other businesses that, like I said, it's majority American and British, and I appreciate that, and Canadian. But like if you look at our officers and directors, beneath me it's a guy from Switzerland, beneath him it's a guy from Colombia. We've got an Israeli and a guy from Poland who's currently running for the next spot. So I mean, it's just a diverse group. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is, and it's just it's neat to get everybody working together. And part of the first thing we're always doing in a board meeting is just trying to get all the get everybody to make sure they understand what's going on and their wagons pointed in the right direction. So
And I've been in the room with some spirited debates too, but always in a respectful way, right? So people definitely have opinions from their corner of the world on how things should be done and the right way to do things and all that. But there's always just that, you had mentioned tight knit group and the culture there is very good. People definitely respect one another, even when they disagree. They respect. I've never seen something devolve into complete nonsense, which is good. I mean, I wish I could say the same thing about local associations. I feel like you could take a cue from that because I've been in the boardroom for some things that have gone down a road that you're like, wow, okay, how did we get here?
well, I attribute a lot of that, in my opinion, to the fact that we hold a board meeting twice a year. We have midterm and an annual, and we do them in all. The last one I think was in Lisbon, and the one before that was in Malaysia. Is that right?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, or yeah, and then it's been Colombia, and but anyways, the part of that is that when you get there, you're there for 3 or 4 days, and you're with these people together, and so we force you to like these people. I mean, we do. We have a welcome reception. We have our past president's lunch where we have everybody come and sit around and we talk about the history of the association. We usually do a tour and we get everybody on a bus together where you're sitting next to somebody for 3 hours or 4 hours and to go see something. And that just, I mean, it creates camaraderie where I do see like a lot of our local, even national associations, we tend to have the board meeting and get out, and that's okay. That's great. I know we're all busy, but sometimes if you it's hard to yell at somebody if they're a friend of yours, even if you don't agree with them on a move, a business move. So
And that does happen, but there is that show of respect. It's not the first time I've talked about WAD. It's not the first time I've had you on here talking about WAD. I gotta have you on to talk about something else at some point. Um, what I keep coming back to is, I started doing this show and it's got 5 years now that I'm doing it, and always the idea was, I want people to learn how to get better in this business, right? If I can introduce them to people like yourself or talk about a concept, something that's important, I want to bring light to it, right? I get a lot of feedback that people are very appreciative of, the content that we've put out over the years. And I always feel that what I should talk about are things that are going to be helpful to the investigator, right? And joining an association like WAD is something that you should make that investment. It's going to help you more than you think it's going to.
yeah.
And it will provide you with a support staff, or not support staff, but like a support hub of people in the industry that are the best of the best, period. I'm going to say it right now. Best people in this industry are members of WAD.
I agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's so important when you're weighing the cost, right? I'm startup, or I've been in business just for a little bit. Like, how am I spending my money to grow my business? Like, it's an easy spend, Definitely.
Yeah, it is. And look, I mean, let's be frank. You pay for the membership fee for any of these associations, and which is relatively low. That it is. And
Scope of things, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you just want to put the logo on your website, great. But where you really get your dividends from is when they actually meet and see you. And I don't think that's just necessarily with WAD. I think that's with every association.
Association, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you're pressing flesh with people and they see who you are and what you're about. And the other thing too that I find is really neat about WAD and a lot of these associations, you just start talking to them. Locally, we all kind of do the same thing. Like the Texas people do, certain types of work that probably the New York people may not necessarily do, but it's similar. But WAD, I'm amazed every time you start talking to somebody. Well, how do you make money? Well, I do this, this, and this. Well, that is a real problem, but I guess some. in that country or that city or whatever, it's a big deal. And so, yeah, anyways, it really benefits you to participate. And the participation is what gets you to that level where you're kind of known as an expert. Everything nowadays and anything in life is a niche. And if you're a niche in that whatever you're doing and you're showing up there and talking to them about it, you're going to see some dividends come back to you.
100%. For me, I always find I'm fascinated by talking to people about the same thing that I do. Okay, so how do you do that in your country?
Yeah.
And finding that out, it's like, oh wow, okay, that's, you got to jump through all those hoops I don't have to jump through. Wow. I'm glad. It's good to know that you have to do that stuff, that it's good to know that you know how to do all the stuff you have to. But when I do it this way, like that contrast I always found really interesting, and did start to see that as I've gone to the events, and it's an investment to go to the events, but again, the value far outweighs the investment. And it's something I think as you progress in your career, it should be the move for you. And like, I love using it too as a marketing tool. When I'm
Hmm.
going into a presentation, I'm trying to solicit new business. Why should I hire you over the other guy?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And sometimes just putting something on
yeah,
your social media feed saying, "Hey, I'm here in," whether it's Lisbon or Malaysia or something like, well, wow. I mean, at a minimum, that tells your potential client or your client, this guy's really invested in this. This is what he's doing. He's really in the game. And that'll give you instant feedback a lot of times, or instant.
100%. I mean, I'm guilty as charged, man. I was in Lisbon. I had my kid. It was with me. He had his little video DJI thing with him. I'm like, hey, let's record something, and I did a segment on international process serving, and I was like, okay, here's an instance where we had somebody absconded from New York to Israel, and we found him and served him, and I got to do like a little story about it, and talk about, well, how it's important in context. Man, I got calls from attorneys. Hey, I saw your video. Like, that's cool. I have this process serving issue, this problem. Maybe you can solve it for me. It pays
Right.
dividends, man. Like, if you know how to market it and use it in the right way, there's prestige behind it. Having to testify in court, they're going to talk about, what's your background, what associations are you affiliated with. You think a juror is going to be like, oh, that guy's on W.A.D, he must be garbage. They're going to be like, no, a World Association of Detectives, like, this person, there's credibility. It sounds like they know what they're talking about, right? There's
Oh,
teeth.
oh yeah, and that's when I say participate, that's what I mean. You really have to come and not just sit in and I mean, particularly with W.A.D, but I think with even all these associations, if you're just looking and say, well, what am I going to learn by the speaker? Well, guy, it used to be an old guy here in Texas says, yeah, we have all these speakers, but that's not really why anybody comes to this thing. Everybody comes here because they want to have a beer with Joe from across the state they haven't seen in a while. There's a lot of that. There's
There's
a
some
lot
truth
of
in
that.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, and the more you actively, and I know it's tough if you're not, particularly if you're a surveillance guy or something like that, you may not necessarily be adept to that, but you might have a little problem, kind of jumping in and being the splash of the show. But you'll learn to do that, and we do a pretty good job trying to introduce you and let everybody know, and that's where you really leverage what you've got.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Wes, I want to thank you for coming on and chatting about all this stuff. If folks are interested, the W.A.D Centennial, it's going to be in September. Why don't you give the details one more time, Wes?
Sure. Yeah. It's at WAD.net. You can see all the main stuff. There is a conference website, which I think I'll give you here in just a minute, but it's on September 2nd through 6th. And it's at the Drake Hotel, which is in downtown Chicago. NCISS, you can go to nciss.org and they have their own registration if you want to go to their meeting the day before. And it'll be at the Drake Hotel as well. It's the whole week. It starts on really Tuesdays to NCISS. WAD's activities will start on Wednesday, goes through Saturday night. Everybody leaves on Sunday. You'll meet all sorts of people. It will be the biggest meeting we've had, and it'll be the one meeting that we have sold out. So please, if you're interested, don't wait, don't dally, get off this and book your ticket now. And if you can't get in for whatever reason, let us know. We'll probably do some type of wait list or something. We haven't figured that out yet, but we'll be figuring that next week or two.
Awesome. Well, Wes, always a pleasure. Thanks so much. I promise you, next time I have you on, no WAD, no FARA, nothing international. We'll just talk about Texas beef or something.
Yeah, let's do something a little more relaxed if we can. Yeah, we'll talk about we'll talk about baseball or something else.
There you
All right?
go. Oh, Texas Rangers, right? Or Astros, whatever.
Well, no, I'm a Rangers fan. Astros I'm not a supporter. I'm from Dallas.
There
So
you go. There you go. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on, and thank you everyone for tuning into this episode. And keep your eye open for the next episode. Take care, everyone.
thank you.
How could you not wait to go to Chicago in September? This is going to be an amazing event. Thanks to Wes for coming on and talking about the benefits of W.A.D. We also want to thank 4 Pillars Insurance Research for sponsoring our podcast. Additional thanks to TrackOps, Scope Now, and the PI Institute of Education for staying on board all these years. Also, don't forget about investigatorstoolbox.com. You can type in Perspectives 50 to save $50 when you join. Please also follow Matt and Satellite Investigations on LinkedIn if you have a question or a comment about the show. Email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com, and you can find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. He's a social media butterfly. We want your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back next week with a new show, so make sure you tune in. Stay safe out there.